Mike, there's two things, having done quite a lot of research about you, looking at some of the lessons I'm sort of trying to take away from the research on you, and that is, number one, you're a man that believes, yes, you should create great IP, but you also need to sell the thing. Give you an example, here's a quote from Computer Business Review, when he said, "The biggest thing we at Invoke have to explain when we go and see a company is that it is about sales and revenues. We are unashamedly nerdy techies here. We love stuff that is different, but that's irrelevant if they're not going to create a sales operation. The example of an Oracle or a Salesforce is that they are the absolute personification of running a sales operation." So why do you think people forget that?
It's very easy. You know, you're creating this amazing product. It's your baby, and you sit there and you think you know exactly what you want to do, and you're always going to sell it one day, and then you bring it out, you show it to customer, and it's not what they want. Well, it's too late then.
Yeah.
And of course, the one thing about selling is you're actually finally testing your idea. Your dream is becoming a reality, and it's a lot more comfortable for people, whether they admit it or not, to keep in the dream. I'm still developing it.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that if you want your idea to have impact, it's got to get out there. And that's why you have to actually do the selling part of it.
Right.
And you know, selling is a brutal thing because you fail. You go out, you try and something, you fail. Your product turns out it's got a problem. So you have to go through that fire.
Yeah.
And some people just don't want to do that. And
Right.
they think that they can go along to entrepreneur conferences and call themselves entrepreneurs without having to go through that pain. Well, no, you have to do that if you want to really make something happen.
Yeah, yeah. Ed Ray, founder of Betfair, said that the one thing that they did is they just got prototypes, put it out to the marketplace, not afraid of failure, not afraid of sort of better done than perfect is some of the mantras they have at Facebook. So getting stuff out there, getting feedback. I suppose you only really find out if people like it if you're trying to get money off them.
Well, more importantly, I've never seen a company end up doing what it started doing. So the idea that you're not going to learn from the customers, that's what you have to do. And quite often you thought you were doing this, and then suddenly the customer says, "I don't need that, but if you could do this."
Yeah.
And so, you know, one of the big problems you have when people get an investor in is they produce a wonderful plan of what they're doing, but actually the cleverest thing to do, perhaps 3 months on, is to do a U-turn.
Right.
And you've got to have the strength to explain, you know, I know I took all that money off you a few months ago, but actually, I really think we should do this now.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important because the world changes, but you learn from your customers.
Brilliant. So have that conversation with the investor 3 months after the check's in, not the day before the check's in.
Yeah,
Otherwise
that's a good point.
That's
Yes. Which brings us on to marketing, another great issue. So, you know, too many UK tech companies think that marketing is cheating. They would love to believe that the world's best mousetrap will win. And the reality is no one will take any notice. And so what you often find in tiny little UK companies is a sense of outrage. They know their product is better than the competitors. But, you know, somehow the competitor's still selling. Well, the competitor's still selling because they do marketing. It's not cheating. And even in Silicon Valley, the great successes are always the ones that have a great product and great marketing.
Yeah.
And so we have to accept that even if you're a technology person, you need to go and find one of those people that's very not like you, that knows how to do marketing, and then you can be successful.
Yeah. Do you think sort of the whole brand and brand equity in the social media age is even more important than it was in the past? Or do you think it's always been equally as important?
I think it's, in technology, I can only talk about technology, I think it's very important because some of these things are so complex to understand or test that actually customers don't test them. And so if you can get the brand to the point where it's perceived as being you know, very good, and that's easiest to do when it is very good, then actually that's very important. So the brand can matter a great deal in technology because no one has the time or the ability to test this stuff.
Let's talk about a brand that everybody watching this would have heard of, and that is Apple. You know, when Steve Jobs passed away, it was a terrible loss for the world and humanity, and people did think the Apple share price was going to tumble and that was going to be it. But if you were in Mr. Cook's shoes over at Apple, what can companies like that do to make sure they maintain that challenger mentality to drive forward and continue to be great? Or will they at some point always inevitably come off a cliff?
Well, what's been happening recently is that companies have really understood the difficulty of always having a hit. So, you know, you can imagine that we have the iPhone 3, 4, 5, 6. Will 7 be a hit? Will 8 be a hit? Will 9 be a hit? Well, actually, you can be pretty sure that at some point they won't be a hit. And so the really clever companies, what they do is they take their hits and they use it to create a situation where even when their next product isn't a hit, they're still very valuable. And that is about data. So what I would expect Mr. Cook to be desperately trying to do would be, through his very successful products up to now, get to a point where, through things like iCloud and Apple Music, we're so tied in to Apple devices that even when the iPhone N is actually not really that good, the cost of switching to us is too much hassle, it's too woven into our lives. So technology people are often looking for how, if you like, the great product, the great idea is the booster rocket that gets you up there. But then you have to work out how you don't fall back to earth when that's gone. So it's very naive to assume you're always going to have a hit. So companies like Facebook or Salesforce.com have become kings in understanding that by getting the data, they hold a valuable future and get an unassailable position. So if I was Mr. Cook, that's what I would be spending all night thinking about.
I'll make sure we send this over to him so you can get the Mike Lynch advice.